Oh, Justin T, you're a sight to see, strutting in socks as bright as can be, with maple leaves and rainbow hues, a fashion statement we didn't choose. You flash that smile, you strike a pose like the star of Canada's reality shows. But while you're busy playing the part, who's steering the moose-drawn cart? Oh, Justin, fancy socks Trudeau, what's your next scandal? We all wanna know. From lockdowns to truckers, you sure made a scene, but your selfies, man, they're squeaky clean. You told us to stay home, keep the door shut tight, while your photo ops lit up the night. Flatten the curve was your famous refrain, but your poll numbers never felt the pain. Then came the truckers with horns that blare. You met them with cops like you just don't care. You froze their funds, you called them names, but Justin, aren't you the king of the blame games? Oh, Justin, fancy socks Trudeau, what's your next scandal? We all wanna know. From lockdowns to truckers, you sure made a scene, but your selfies, man, they're squeaky clean. Ethics breaches, oh, who's keeping score? Your charity scandals leave us wanting more. With every stumble you manage to spin, dancing around like you're destined to win. A master of drama, you cry on cue. A one-man Broadway, it's all about you. From blackface blunders to AgaCon trips, your legacy's packed with comedic scripts. But hey, at least your socks are bold, a distraction tactic that never gets old. So here's to you, our selfie king, the Bard of Ottawa, let freedom ring. Oh, Justin, fancy socks Trudeau, what's your next scandal? We all wanna know. From lockdowns to truckers, you sure made a scene, but your selfies, man, they're squeaky clean. So let's raise a toast to the man with flair, with his socks and his scandals and his well-coiffed hair. Justin Trudeau, you're a comedy gold, a tale for the ages, forever retold.
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, Maverick family. Here we are. What is the date today? January 10th, 2025. And the world is on fire. That's the thumbnail for tonight. What's the top news story? I guess the LA wildfires. Ukraine also on the offensive today, taking the fight to Russia. You know the old saying, the best defense is a good offense. What else is going on? We're going to catch up on some of these comments over the past day and a half from conservative leader Pierre Poilievre on a number of issues, including Donald Trump's threat of the 25% tariffs across the board and making Canada the 51st state. The Liberal leadership race is heating up, or maybe just getting lukewarm with some of the top names that people thought would be contenders for this thing, deciding not to take a stab at the leadership. We'll tell you why. And what else do we have? Well, we have other stuff. That's just all off the top of my head. So we're going to cover that and likely more. Maybe we'll go to the phones. We'll see how things roll tonight. Great to have everybody here, even as the world burns.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, let's start. We're going to start very briefly in Canada. Then we're going to move on to these to this wildfire story and give you an update there. But we're starting in Canada because here's Canada's health minister saying today, and this is not going to make a lot of you happy. I believe this is from today, yeah. Mark Miller saying no real need for an election until October, the fall, even though Justin Trudeau is stepping down as leader, and we have this incoming Trump administration, which appears to be, in many respects, very hostile toward Canada.
You know, we elect Parliament for 4 years. Everybody's, let's have an election. Why? Like, every 4 years you get an election. Like, democracy's not going anywhere, folks. Like, there's going to be an election. But we got stuff we got to get done. And I certainly, if I was a constituent and somebody who cared about healthcare, I'd be talking to my MPs and say, like, really, you're going to cause an election in May or June instead of October because what? You think it's better? You might win more seats, right? That's your calculus, that it's better for your party to have an election now? Like, we have a set election day. Shouldn't we use the set election day? Shouldn't we use the time we're given as parliamentarians to get things done? And I can tell you, if I'm given to October, I'll get all the pharmacare deals done. I believe that. Now, Jeremy's sitting next to me. He can disagree, and that'd be totally fair, right? Because I got work to do, and I don't want to put him in an awkward position. But I really believe in this. I don't believe in it because I'm a liberal. I believe in it because I'm a Canadian, because I think it's the right damn thing to do. And so I think having that time is important. And I'm hopeful that it's there, but I'll make use of any time I'm given.
Yeah, that's not really the way the Canadian system works. We don't have set election dates in Canada. We do have dates that become mandatory for elections. They're like deadlines. If you don't have an election by that particular date, then you're in violation of the Constitution. And, it forces you to go to the polls so that we don't end up with a dictatorship. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, there are a lot of various scenarios that can trigger an election. And yeah, if it was advantageous, if for Trudeau to go to the polls right now, or for the Liberals in general, you can bet your boots that we'd be heading to the polls right now. If the Liberals are doing better in the polls, if they weren't at a record low, if the Conservatives weren't at a record high, then the Liberals would no doubt be taking advantage of that and would be calling an election. And when you're the government in power, you have more sway that way more say in when you're going to call an election. The prime minister could decide to have an election at any time and just go to the governor general and ask for parliament to be dissolved, and then away we go to the polls. So this idea from Minister Miller that Canada, that it's just the regular democratic process to wait until the very end, no, that's not really quite the way that it works. If you drag it all the way out until the very end, to the final day or even the final month, you're doing it for your own political purposes. So I'm sorry, but your assertions today just don't hold water. Speaking of water, that's the main area of concern, isn't it? Out in Los Angeles with all these wildfires, all the damage out there, absolutely devastating. We haven't really covered very much of it here on Maverick News, but I suppose we absolutely should be giving it more attention. It's, I think, tonight, at least one of the top, if not the top story, at least one of the top 2 or 3. So what's going on out there right now? Well, we know that with the latest devastating wildfires currently ravaging Los Angeles, multiple fires have been reported, with the most significant being the Palisades fire, which has now grown to over 20,400 acres and is only 8% contained. The Eaton fire, another major blaze, has already destroyed over 7,000 structures and is just 3% contained, making these 2 of the most destructive wildfires in California's history. Tragically, the death toll has now reached 11, with officials warning that this number could rise as they continue to assess the affected areas. The fires have forced tens of thousands from their homes, with nearly 180,000 people under evacuation orders at one point. Governor Gavin Newsom has called for an independent investigation into the water supply issues that have hampered firefighting efforts. Reports of dry fire hydrants and low water pressure have been a significant concern, leading to delays in containment efforts. President Joe Biden has announced federal support, promising full funding for recovery efforts for the first 180 days, including deploying additional firefighters and military personnel to assist. Canadian firefighting personnel have also joined the effort. The weather, unfortunately, isn't helping things down there, with Santa Ana winds expected to pick up again, potentially exacerbating the situation. Firefighters are bracing for another challenging day tomorrow, working tirelessly to create control lines and protect what remains of the affected communities. For those affected, insurance relief is on the way, with California's insurance commissioner issuing a moratorium on policy cancellations for 1 year in the fire zones. So we'll continue to keep you posted on all of this in the days ahead and even through the night tonight. Let me take a quick break. We're going to come back, show you some video on the other side. Don't go away.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so a lot of speculation, a lot of theories swirling around, a lot of concern, a lot of emotion, a lot of people claiming that the wildfires out in Los Angeles have been the result of arsons. I know that Henry Winkler, the Fonz from Happy Days, the actor, attacked on social media for making exactly that kind of claim, or at least retweeting it. He came under a lot of fire, as did some other prominent actors, Hollywood types, because their homes are being affected by this. I think Mel Gibson's home has been affected by it. There are quite a number of others. And it isn't really clear exactly what's going on with that. It's odd, you know, because Henry Winkler posts online repeating the claim that some of these fires have been intentionally set. He gets attacked, and then in the news story that I'm reading about it earlier today, it in the next line it says, and then there was somebody arrested for arson. It's my understanding, though, that the person that was arrested in that particular case was questioned and then released without charges being laid at that time. Now, I'm not saying one way or the other exactly what the situation is with that particular investigation. It seems pretty credible to me that there are probably people out there running around setting fires, even if the main fires were the result of maybe not intentional arson, but maybe other human activity combined with dry weather and high winds. I don't know. That's why we need an investigation. Trump pointing his finger at Gavin Newsom and saying it's all Gavin Newsom's fault. All of it. And of course, it's being politicized all the way around, with some people saying this is the result of DEI hiring policies within the fire department in Los Angeles. And Trump, of course, saying that one of the main reasons is that they didn't have enough money, water in the reservoirs because of environmental protection efforts to save the Delta smelt, a kind of fish. I was watching that, and that was a comment made some months ago on the Joe Rogan program, almost as if it was a foreshadowing of things to come, almost like Trump could predict the future. Very strange, very odd. And now, Trump using it as a political tool, honestly. Maybe justifiably so, maybe not. You'll have to make your own assessment on that. Here's NBC's coverage. Just give you a little clip of this to give you a taste of what the mainstream media is saying.
At least 10 people are now confirmed dead as
11.
wildfires rage and devastation grows right there around Los Angeles. In fact, officials say that more than 9,000 homes and buildings have been damaged or destroyed. Drone video shows decimated neighborhoods like these in Altadena, Pacific Palisades, two of the hardest hit communities.
And new fires continue to break out as firefighters struggle to contain the ones that have already been sweeping LA for days now. NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson is live on the ground in Pacific Palisades, California. And Steve, we know those powerful Santa Ana winds are finally dying down a bit, but they are expected to come roaring back next week. What are the conditions looking like in the days ahead?
Yeah, let's talk about what they're looking like now, because what a difference it it feels like when the winds have died down, and they certainly have, you can feel it in the air. That is great news for these firefighters who are doing the best that they can to try to douse and knock down these hot spots so crucial to the overall firefighting operation. The red flag winds expected to end in full a little bit later on today, maybe in a few hours or so. But I mean, look at the damage they've already wrought. There should be homes as far as the eye can see in this direction. Behind me, you may have seen there's just almost nothing left. And then just walking through, this is Pacific Palisades, by the way, walking through a scene like this where the cars, the aluminum hubcaps have melted to the ground, the garage is gone. All that's left are obviously the chimneys, which are made out of brick, and then power lines strewn across. This is why this is so dangerous. When people get security wants to keep people out of areas like this, because scenes like this are just so dangerous. We've seen hot spots as well, little fires picking up all over a scene like this. But as mentioned, we are sort of in this critical, crucial firefighting window where over the next maybe 24, 48, 36, maybe even 72 hours, we will get a break in the wind. Firefighters able to put some containment numbers. We've already seen 8% on this fire, 3% on the Eaton fire, crucial to the overall effort. And hopefully they want to get as much done as they can before about Monday morning when those winds pick up again, which is another very dangerous situation, guys.
So the efforts to contain these fires continues. I would say this has to be the largest fire in California history, one of the largest, if not the largest in U.S. history of this type. This has to be bigger than what happened in Lahaina. And the level of damage is just insane. The dollar figures climbing. And, you know, this is, the thing about this is it's, well, I'm going to get to this in a minute. People's priorities, I think, including the media and the public, the priorities, the concerns are a little bit skewed these days. And I'll explain that in a moment. But just to kind of recap some of the most important information from this story today, we know that these fires have now killed 11 people, although the true death toll we really are not sure of as this story continues to unfold. And we know that they've had very dry conditions out there, very powerful winds, and that has been feeding oxygen to these massive wildfires, causing unprecedented damage in highly populated areas not known for fires. And although wind conditions have eased, red flag warnings will remain in place, at least for the next couple of hours, according to officials out in LA, adding that they anticipate fierce winds to return beginning of the week. Now, the Palisades fire, which has burned through more than 20,000 acres, is 8% contained. The Eaton fire in the Pasadena area, which has burned across almost 14,000 acres now, is only 3% contained. Governor Gavin Newsom says he's calling for this independent investigation into the loss of water pressure to local fire hydrants and the reported availability of water supplies from the Santa Ynez Reservoir. And at least 2 of the people who were killed in this horrific situation died while they were trying to protect their homes. Another person stayed behind with his son, who had cerebral palsy and was not able to evacuate. And when I say that, you know, with that in mind, I honestly do not get people's mentality these days. Here's David Muir standing in front of a camera in a yellow jacket. I don't, these are like safety jackets, right? I guess maybe they're like fire retardant, or at least they have reflective strips on them for safety reasons. But in any event, I'm just bringing this up because my whole reaction is different than what I'm seeing online with this, where this seems to have triggered some people, especially people who are skeptical or don't like the mainstream media. So here's David Weir. And what is it that people are upset about? They're upset that he has clothespins attached to the back of this jacket. So when he turns, you see the clothespins? So that's to cinch up the jacket, which is too large for him, I guess. So before he appeared on camera, these clothespins were attached to make the jacket just fit a little bit better, I guess, so he looked better. So online he's being accused of being vain. It created this media fury that it went semi-viral online, and and they're just saying that the guy is narcissistic. Honestly, I don't care. Why do people care about that so much? And I guess the real story behind it is that David Weir didn't ask for that. They have a crew that's on scene there, camera crew, producer, audio guy. That's network television. It's not just him out in the field. So the producer, just before the camera went on, ran behind him and attached those clothespins, because that's the producer's job, is to take care of details, make sure things look right when they're on the air. Now, I can tell you that as a TV guy, I worked for a lot of years in television and still working in video. I don't have an issue with that myself. It's clothespins attached to the back of the jacket. Why? I'll tell you why. It's not because he's necessarily vain or narcissistic, or because they're just looking for a blow-dried, polished, artificial look. It's really to make sure that your attention is focused on the content of the message. If he's wearing a jacket that's too large, it can draw attention to the jacket, just as it did there. Now, it's unfortunate that when he turned, you saw the clothespins, and then everybody flipped out over that. But I think the intent should be, to just keep things looking neat and tidy so that your attention isn't drawn to something unusual and you start talking about that thing, whether it's the guy's hair or because he has, purple paint on his face that's not appropriate, or something else. It's to make sure you're not distracted by something rather than trying to draw your attention to something. Although, that being said, when you're a high-profile network reporter like David Weir and anchor, you're out there with a crew, and it is high-end production, as high-end as electronic news gathering can get, I guess, when you're in the field. But, they'll pull out all the stops to make sure that he looks good. He has an image. He's worth a lot of money to them. They have a lot invested in him. So I get it. I just don't understand, honestly, the mania that has come out of that. There are more important things to be worried about. I shouldn't even be talking about it here, so let's just move on, because it just isn't really that important. It's not so much, my commentary isn't so much about that story. It's really more about the state of affairs when it comes to media and media consumption these days. The LA Fire Chief says the Canadian Super Scooper airplanes that are out there helping fight this wildfire, or series of wildfires, are flying in pretty dangerous conditions because the wind has been so incredibly strong out there. Let's just pick up this clip and share that with you. There we go.
Yesterday at the Palisades fire, unknown exactly what time this small drone hit the wing of our CL-415 Super Scooper aircraft that we currently have on contract from the province of Quebec. The pilots were unaware that they hit the drone. It wasn't until they landed at Van Nuys Airport that the maintenance staff noticed that there was a fist-sized hole in the leading edge of the wing inboard of the landing light.
Wow.
That Super Scooper will be prioritized for repair 24/7. It should be flying Monday. We only have 2 of them. Everyone should know, all of your viewers, flying a drone in the fire traffic area is not only dangerous, but it's illegal. Yesterday.
So they've got a drone issue. Oh my God. Well, at least he's not sitting there saying that it was an encounter with a close encounter with an alien UFO. But very dangerous, obviously. So I guess they'll have to effect pretty quick repairs on that to get that water bomber back into service. It's obviously needed desperately. What else we got going on here? Yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are about about Trump's comments about the water on the Joe Rogan show. Well, how many months ago was it? That was during the election, right? I think that was part of his big interview that he did in the latter part of the campaign. That was the interview that delayed him arriving at that rally, which he was criticized for, but ultimately did not hurt him anyway. Yeah. 117 million gallon reservoir in one of Los Angeles's communities, ravaged by wildfires, was apparently completely out of commission too when the fire started in the area on Tuesday. That's the Santa Ynez Reservoir in the Pacific Palisades. It was closed for repairs after a covering which was designed to preserve water quality became torn. So that story has broken, and the reservoir status may have limited the water system's ability to apply consistent, even water pressure for firefighters. Water, major challenge out in California. And I noticed that Trump just the other day mentioned Canadian water in response to a question about everything going on in California. And all of that, of course, ties into the whole 51st state thing. Canadians, all my life, I've heard Canadians talking about, how our water is a precious resource, and eventually, some people thought that the United States might come for it. Here we are. Oh, man. Here's the post from Gavin Newsom, governor out there, calling for that independent investigation. I'll just show you his statement from the moment firestorms erupted in Los Angeles County on Tuesday, January 7th. It was clear, he says, our public infrastructure would be put under tremendous strain. The horrific hurricane-force winds and dry conditions have produced an unprecedented urban wildlands disaster that has pushed all of our resources to the limits. The ongoing reports of the loss of water pressure to some local fire hydrants during the fires and the reported unavailability of water supplies from the Santa Ynez Reservoir are deeply troubling to me and to the community. While water supplies from local fire hydrants are not designed to extinguish wildfires over large areas, losing supplies from fire hydrants definitely impaired the effort to protect some homes and evacuation conditions. We need answers to how that happened. Therefore, I have directed state water and firefighting officials to prepare an independent after-incident report examining the causes of lost water supply and water pressure in municipal water systems during the fire events, and to identify measures that local governments can implement to provide adequate water supply for emergency response during future catastrophic events. It goes on. Donald Trump sees it a little bit different. He says it's all Gavin Newsom's fault. All of it. Do I have that up to show you? I don't know. But I do have this clip out of Palm Beach talking about the drones, which is appropriate given that we just heard that it was a drone actually that hit the water bomber from Quebec, which was being commissioned to fight those fires out in LA. Here's Trump on the drones. What's he going to do? Oh, when's he going to do this? When he's going to get? He's going to do this. This is another thing he's doing on day one.
That kind of disappeared very suddenly. Do you have any idea whatever happened to the drones?
What happened to drones?
Well, you said that you knew you thought the government knew what was happening with these drones over New Jersey. There were some by Bedminster.
I don't know. They're over Bedminster a lot, so I can imagine. I'm going to give you a report on drones about one day into the administration, because I think it's ridiculous that they're not telling you about what's going on with the drones. And it's not only with me. Glenn was telling me today that in Virginia they have drones all over the place too, and nobody's reporting it. I don't know why they're not. Do you want to say something about that?
Just one quick comment, which is we are home to the largest naval base in the world in Quantico, and we house a lot of the SEAL teams and have a huge national security infrastructure. And now for 2 years running, we have had drone incursion over secure airspace, and we still don't know why. And I think that's absolutely unacceptable. And I think President Trump and the new leadership coming in, I think will work diligently to understand who's behind this and what we do in order to stop the digital surveillance of all of our secure infrastructure.
Well, I can tell you this. While we were dealing with a terrorist attack in New Orleans, we had drones being flown over our nuclear reactors in Louisiana. And we brought that attention to the FAA. We've been asking the FAA to give these states the ability to mitigate these drones. And it's sitting on some bureaucrat's desk. And that's real.
Nobody knows. They don't want to talk about it. Go ahead, Governor. You're going to say?
I was just going to say we have drones in Wyoming flying over our infrastructure as well. And it's incredibly frustrating that we not only have no way of knowing what it is, but nobody knows how to deal with them.
They don't want to talk about it, and nobody knows why. They don't want to talk about it. That could be us sending drones. I hope that's the case, us doing it and doing research, and maybe they don't want to talk about it from that standpoint. I hope it's not an enemy, but we're going to find out on the 21st, the day after. You have to give me a little time for the inauguration, but shortly thereafter, we'll give you a report on it. We'll tell you exactly what it is. They know, and it's very strange that they aren't talking about it.
Huh. You know, he has to be getting security briefings right now. So I would think he knows. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're not telling him. But I think at this point, he gets security briefings. So, strange times. But they're drones. I mean, that's what they are. Unbelievable. Now, I'm seeing a lot of talk about, you know, these are being set by arsonists. So I don't know. I have no idea, but a lot of people want to believe that, I think, and a lot of people are fearful that might be the case. I don't know, but here's somebody from the LAPD.
What we know right now is that the incident started here, and about 30 minutes later, a suspect was detained over in Woodland Hills area by citizens.
So someone purposely set the Kenneth fire?
At this time, that's what we believe, yes.
Do you know how or why they did that?
That I don't know.
Is this a crime scene right now?
Yes.
So everything's closed off.
It's being investigated as a crime. What we know.
Okay, so they're investigating. It could be arson. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. And as I say, even if, and I'm not saying they did, if they started naturally, or maybe because somebody discarded a cigarette carelessly or a catalytic converter on a car, set grass on fire, and it started a blaze here, or that blaze over, I don't know. But whenever you get fires that are publicly reported like that, there are people who are not right in the head who do get triggered because they're nuts, and they go out and set fires. It causes arsonists to jump into gear and go out and set fires. If you have a rash of fires in a community, it's just a known phenomenon. If you have a bunch of fires, house fires, garage fires, whatever, fires generate more fires because firebugs get the bug. Is when they start hearing about it on the news, and they go out and they start to ignite copycat fires. So it would not surprise me at all if that was what was going on right there. Somebody hearing about fires, and then they got the bug, and they went out and set some more. Of course, there could be more sinister reasons behind it all, but I'm going to reserve judgment until we have more concrete information, so that we're dealing with things from, I hope, a place of accuracy and truth, or at least as close as we can get to that. Back to the 51st state stuff. Oh, well, actually, I'm going to show you this. I was going to go back to Trump, but let's go to this from Trump first, just to stay on the wildfires thing for just one more moment. Here's a Truth Social post from Trump today about Governor Newsom, saying what? One of the best and most beautiful parts of the United States of America, he says, this is Trump saying this, is burning down to the ground. It's ashes, and Gavin Newscum should resign. This is all his fault. Triple exclamation points. What do you think? Is it appropriate for the president to be making these kinds of comments on the political side of things? A lot of people criticizing Trump, as usual, saying that he shouldn't be making this a political thing, that he really should be working more to bring the community together. Let me see if I can find that clip of Ron DeSantis today. He came to Trump's defense. Yeah, it's right here. I've got it. On this very issue. Some people saying that DeSantis pretty much owned this reporter. Here he is. The governor of Florida. Take it away.
It's appropriate for the president-elect or a president to be criticizing.
Is it appropriate for people in your industry to try to create division and to try to create narratives anytime these things happen? Now, you're not as interested in doing that because Newsom is a D. If Newsom was a Republican, you guys would you would have him nailed to the wall for what they're doing over there. And I know we've dealt with it. We just assume in Florida, anytime something happens, it's going to be politicized by the media. So you guys sitting in judgment of Donald Trump, I mean, excuse me, I think your track record of politicizing these things is very, very bad.
Okay, last question. Newsom should resign and that the wildfires are all his fault. So do you agree with those comments?
I remember when we had the Surfside Tower collapse, I had people from the Washington Post trying to blame me for it immediately without having any facts or anything. Oh, he didn't declare a state of emergency. First of all, state of emergency doesn't mean you can't respond. It's all that. Excuse me?
Biden did it. I think that's what you said.
Well, but what I'm telling you is you guys are trying to make an issue of it when I have watched from this seat. In fact, when I got elected governor, I was meeting with some of the other Republican governors, and what they would say is, hey, if you have a natural disaster, just know media's coming at you, they're going to do it. It's not the same. That mayor of LA, if that were a Republican mayor, I could only imagine what that would do. I mean, you know the fires are at high risk, and you try to go to Africa or wherever she was to go on some type of voyage. You should have been there preparing and doing that, and yet I don't see a lot of heat being directed in that thing. And so, you know, I'd like to see some balance on how this is done. You could criticize the president-elect, but I think you also have to hold these other people accountable, and I have not seen that.
What do you guys think? Is that fair? I'm just going to take a quick look in the chat. Scrolling down, there's Choosy. Hello, Choosy. What are we saying here? Mouth breathers, yeah, okay. Loopy says, think the missing in Cali is... I don't think so. Weird. A lot of weirdness in the chat there. Let me check over on the Rumble channel. Maybe things are a little bit more normal. We are living in an unreal world these days. It's, I think, artificially generated in people's minds, in some people's minds. What do we got going on here? So what are you guys thinking? The governor from Virginia is about 7 feet tall? Okay, that's what D says. I don't know really what that means. Dragon says, yeah, Rick, if there was a lack of management from the water hydrant case, I say yes. And I don't know. Do not know yet what the truth is about how these fires started. And with the kind of damage we're seeing out there, I don't know that we're ever really going to know for sure what started these things. Although it's pretty surprising. These, you know, sometimes even when it looks like you've literally got a scorched earth scenario, the investigators can find the evidence that they need to come to some sort of concrete conclusion and determine exactly what it is that starts a fire. They have some pretty good techniques. Choosy says, BS, Rick, it's all plausible deniability. Don't feed it. There was a Jesuit law professor arrested in California, and it should be top news, but it's very quiet. I don't know what you're talking about, Choosy. I don't know anything about that. Look, Gary. I don't know who that is. I'll have to look into this, Choosy, and see what it's about when I have a moment. It's a little tough to educate myself on a story that, like that, on the fly in the middle of a broadcast. Oh, Steve Harvey says, look at the video. Trump is much higher when sitting. What they gave him, the children's chair. Okay, I don't know. Again, people picking up on little details. Like the yellow vest that David Weir was wearing. Speaking of media, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg making huge changes over at Facebook, dealing with their fact checkers and censorship. And he appeared on the Joe Rogan show, I guess, to talk about this. And we have a clip of Mark Zuckerberg saying that over the course of the Biden administration officials would call Facebook fact checkers, staff, and scream and yell at them and demand that certain content be removed from Facebook. He says in some cases they would even demand that information that was actually true be removed.
These people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, and it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
Did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails. the emails are published. It's all kind of out there, and they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. They wanted us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're going to see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. And we just said, no, we're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are true. And then at some point, I guess, I don't know, it flipped a bit. I mean, Biden, when he gave some statement at some point, I don't know if it was a press conference or to some journalists, where he basically was like, these guys are killing people. And I don't know, then like all these different agencies and branches of government basically just like started investigating and coming after our company. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Wow.
Well, Facebook came after us. I don't have access. I can't post it. I can tell you that I was using a Facebook page from a relative just to send a couple of messages out, and then I did share a couple of things, and even with that, they sent warnings. It's bizarre. Facebook sucks. And Zuckerberg let it get there because he didn't stand up, didn't take a stand against censorship when America and the world needed him to, in my opinion. Things are changing now. Trump's coming in to the White House again, and just in advance of that, now Zuckerberg bends just like a very flexible tree. Leans over in the wind. The winds of change are blowing. He sees it. And he's just going with the flow. I wouldn't say that guy has very strong principles one way or another. He'll just do whatever he has to do to go along, and protect his business interests, I would say. His little mini empire over there, although it's pretty big. Shrinking, though. He's lost a lot of people. Here's Trump on the 51st state. He means it.
A couple weeks ago, Justin Trudeau rushed down here. He wanted to make nice. Now he's on the way out. Is that what you wanted?
I didn't think he was going to quit. He probably saw the numbers. Look, I called him Governor Trudeau because they should be the 51st state, really. It would make a great state. And the people of Canada like it. They'd pay lower taxes. They have virtually no military. They have a very small military. They pay less than 1%. They're about the lowest payer in NATO. They're supposed to pay much more. They haven't been paying. They have a lot of problems. And I was with Wayne Gretzky. I said, Wayne, would you like to be the governor of Canada? I can't imagine anybody doing any better than Wayne. Wayne was not too interested, but I think he probably would have liked statehood. He's a friend of mine. He's a great guy. He's the great one. We call him the great one, right? He's a great hockey player.
A couple weeks ago, Justin Trudeau rushed down here. He
hang on
wanted
a
to make
second.
nice.
Whatever. I don't know how much impact Trump's statements actually had on Justin Trudeau. Potentially, and his decision to announce that he is intending to step aside as leader. It probably had some impact. Mounting pressure from within the party. Because Canada's very existence actually is threatened now because of what Trump is doing. It's bizarre, inappropriate. You know where I stand on it. I'm pro-Canada, pro-Canadian sovereignty. I'm pro-America too, but I don't want my country destroyed, taken over. I don't want our sovereignty ignored or relinquished in any way. When is Trudeau going to step aside? Probably in a few months. So there are a lot of people are like, oh no, I don't think he's gonna. Who knows, man? I at this point, I think it's almost impossible for him to realistically find a path forward to cling to the leadership and carry the party into the next election. It's still possible, but I can't see it happening, especially now as some are lining up and are putting their names forward as candidates for the next leadership convention, which is really what prorogation of Parliament is being done for. It's to give the Liberals time to run their leadership convention and select a new leader. Well, today, Melanie Joly, Foreign Affairs Minister, one of the people a lot of people thought would end up running. I think she wisely has decided that no, she's not going to do it. She's not going to take a run at the leadership.
Well, over the last couple of days, I've had lots of good conversations with my team, with my key organizers. I've received a lot of support from across the country, and I wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to all these supporters. But essentially, I had to ask myself two questions. The first one is, am I ready to be the first woman to lead the Liberal Party of Canada? And the answer is yes. And am I ready, at the same time, to step away from my responsibilities as Minister of Foreign Affairs at a time where it is a crucial time in the Canada-US relationship? And the answer is no. And the reality is I can't do both. So I'm heading into the Canada-US Committee in the Cabinet room, and we will be talking about retaliatory measures against potential tariffs from President-elect Trump. And we will be ready, and I'll do my job. And so I'll be in Washington next week. Spoke to Senator Graham again this morning, and of course, I'll be running to win Huntsic-Cartierville because this is the passion of my life.
You have a number of high-profile Liberals whose names were being thrown around as potential candidates for the leadership, and they've decided, nope, not right now. I believe Chrystia Freeland has also said no, and wisely so, because whoever ends up in that position in the next election will probably end up being crushed. That's the reality. That is the reality. So, probably wise. Not the best time to become leader, because if you become the leader right now, you head into that election and you lose, you're tarnished, tainted, because you've got that negative momentum attached to you. You've got failure attached to you. Success breeds success. Failure breeds failure. You take a stab at being the leader now, and you go up running against Pierre Poilievre in the next election, with him riding so high in the polls, you're pretty much a guaranteed loser. You might even lose your own seat, which would be devastating for anyone running in that position. So yeah, that's wise. Career-wise, it's wise for Joly and these others, high-profile cabinet members, cabinet ministers, to at this time, I would say no. Here's Poilievre from yesterday. Really strong speech. Didn't get to touch on this because, of course, we were dealing with other issues and have been for the last few days. But here he is on the attack, looking for that axe the tax election, which I think, honestly, at this point is evolving. I'm not so sure we're going to be having a tax-focused election when it happens sometime this year, I think the focus might end up being more on issues of sovereignty and whether Canada can even survive as a nation. Who will be the leader strongest and best capable of protecting Canada's interests when negotiations on the new trade deal begin with Donald Trump and maybe negotiations aimed at and designed and circling around maybe the preservation of Canada as an actual nation state.
Liberals are putting Liberals first. It's time to put Canada first. Given that all of them are the same, all of them are just like Justin, let's get this decision out of the way. We need certainty now. We cannot wait. I'm calling on Justin Trudeau to do what he has the legal power to do. He can do it without his caucus supporting him. I'm calling on him to walk to Rideau Hall and announce that there will be an Axe the Tax election now, so that Canadians can take back control of their lives and country. The choice will be simple. Either the NDP Liberals, who tax your food, punish your work, double your housing cost, unleash crime and chaos and weakness on the world stage, or common sense Conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime, and put Canada first. We will take back control of immigration, take back control of spending, take back control of our borders, take back control of inflation, taxes, and interest rates. Take back control of the country that we knew and still love, and we will put Canada first. We will stand up and we will state clearly that Canada is a sovereign and independent country, that we will protect our integrity as a nation through strength. First of all, this means a strong economy. We need a massive bring-it-home tax cut, lowering taxes on work, investment, energy, and making stuff in Canada will bring home billions of dollars of investment and paychecks, but will also make us more economically independent and less vulnerable to threats from abroad. Second, we need a Prime Minister who can make the case to our economic allies on the ground in America. We should go to the American workers in the Midwest and their union and business leaders and say, how many jobs are you prepared to lose by hitting Canadian energy with tariffs, energy that we sell to America at discounts that create six-figure jobs for American workers? How many of those people will go out of work? How many of those hard hats will be laid down and boots will be unfilled because Americans will lose jobs due to that self-harm if those tariffs go ahead? We need to go to American home builders and say, we can help you build more affordable homes if your government would stop tariffing our softwood lumber. We need to go to the American tech companies and say, you could have access to our unmatched, totally reliable and clean electricity sources for your data centers. AI requires 10 times as much electricity as traditional information technology does. We have the most uranium for nuclear centers. Meta, Google, Microsoft are all buying or refurbishing their own nuclear plants to power their data centers. We can do it for them here in Canada. Cold, dry climate, lots of energy, low cost, totally reliable, 100% ally right next door. We can provide that to America. And energy. Today, Venezuela being torn apart, with opposition leaders being attacked, and what is America going to be forced to do? Buy Venezuelan oil instead of good, clean Canadian oil. Not only should we condemn Maduro and the dictators in Venezuela for what they're doing, we should shut them off by shutting down their energy and their oil sales and replacing it with Canadian oil sales. The Americans, our friends, want Canadian oil, not Venezuelan, not Iranian, and not other dirty dictator oil from around the world. These are the arguments that a strong Prime Minister with the brains and backbones to lead a country would be making right now if we had a serious government. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take back control and put our country first. That means rebuilding our economy, bringing home production, rebuilding our military, supporting a strong border, reinstating controls on immigration, and most of all, being proud of our country and unapologetic for our history. We need to honor our past and our shared values. We need to live out the dream that started with John A. Macdonald. Yes, I said John A. Macdonald, who believed in an independent and sovereign Canada. We need to uphold our heroes, stop tearing down our symbols, remind people who come here that when they're given a Canadian flag and they land on Canadian soil, that it's the greatest gift on earth and that they should be proud to be part of the Canadian family. That's what it means to be a proud Canadian. That's what it means to put Canada first. Let's bring it home.
Okay. So yeah, another strong speech from Poilievre. Absolutely the best orator among all the current members of Parliament. He's very masterful, especially during question period. Canadian dollar rebounding just a little bit over the last, 2 days. It was down, I believe, to about 69 cents. It's bounced back up to 71 cents on the dollar. Not the lowest it's ever been, not the highest, that's for sure. But it's not unprecedented, 71 cents. It actually makes our exports more attractive to the United States. Again, just reinforcing Pierre Poilievre's point. Canada sells natural resources to the United States at bargain prices, especially when you consider the value of our dollar compared to the U.S. buck. All right, let's take another short break. We'll come right back with more.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Did you guys see this clip from Rogan talking about the water and the fish, the smelty fish? I think I've got the whole clip here. I want to share this with you. I don't normally run these Rogan clips because they usually trigger some sort of a strike against the channel, but let's see what we can do here. So this is Trump making the claim that the wildfires and all the damage is really because of Gavin Newsom and crazy environmental laws.
They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why don't you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north. Water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. I could have water for all of that land water for your forests. You know, your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You know, you could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, you know, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. And all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, you know, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
We'll certainly get rid of the dead fall.
And get rid of the trees that have fallen.
Yeah.
That, you know,
I don't. Have you looked at a map? Have you seen how much area, well, especially in Canada, you know, it's true around, you know, like populated areas, there should be forest management that takes place, even with controlled burns. And if you understand what those are about, it's to get rid of a lot of the dead wood and the dried out dead vegetation that can ignite and cause fires. It aids in mitigating those kinds of problems. But to do it to the entire forest, like all the forested areas, you couldn't do it. There's just too much land to cover. And to do it in any kind of efficient way that would be cost effective at all. Now that being said, it is true that more forest management needs to be taking place. I think it is also true, and this is just me editorializing, that to some degree the environmental regulations do sometimes go too far. Here's a picture of the Delta smelt. This is the fish that Trump says is being protected instead of protecting Los Angeles. So I just share that with you. When I listened to that, though, you know, it was I think it was an oversimplification. What they were talking about. Rogan mentions in that interview that at one point he says there used to be a whole lake in the middle of Los Angeles. And so I did some research, and it is true. There was a lake there known as Lake Cahuenga. I think it's more or less how you pronounce it. And it was situated originally near where the Hollywood Bowl is today. And this area, before urbanization, it was part of a natural basin, and water would collect there in this lake in the late 19th century. And it served the area as like a natural water source. But then over time, as Los Angeles grew, that natural lake was altered. And in the way Joe Rogan spoke about it, he was like, what kind of crazy foolishness did they do there? The whole lake dried up. Well, by the early 20th century, the area was dammed, and they created the Hollywood Reservoir for water storage, which effectively replaced the natural lake. And the Hollywood Reservoir, which was built in the 1920s, still occupies the area where the lake once was. They turned the lake into a reservoir, and that reservoir continues to serve as a key part of the Los Angeles water supply system today. Now, there was, I think, some confusion in that exchange between Trump and Rogan, because Rogan and Trump were actually also referring to Tulare Lake. He named it specifically. And that lake was once the largest freshwater lake west of the Mississippi River. But it has largely gone dry, which I think is really what Rogan was trying to talk about, not the lake right inside the city of Los Angeles. He was really referring to Tulare Lake. And it has largely gone dry due to, yes, water diversion, but not for the reasons that Trump is asserting right there. That lake went dry. And I don't know if Trump's words were connected to Rogan's words or if there was some miscommunication there, but that lake went dry mainly because of water diversion for agricultural uses. That water was diverted in the in the late 19th century and early part of the 20th century for agricultural purposes. But even today, it does actually refill at times when you get a lot of rainfall. So you get some water collecting still in that area. So it wasn't really entirely accurate what they were talking about. And the fish does figure into that. And then this idea that water is just being dumped into the Pacific to save a fish. That's what Donald Trump said. That also is something of an oversimplification and somewhat misleading even. And I think when Gavin Newsom is on the hot seat like this, it might make for good ratings online, but I'm not sure that it's an entirely fair assessment. The fish in question is that Delta smelt that I just showed you. That is an endangered species. It's native to the Sacramento San Joaquin River Delta in California, and the protection of the Delta smelt has influenced water management policies, especially because of regulations under the Endangered Species Act. So California's water system does involve diverting water from the north of the state, where it is more abundant, to the drier southern parts of the agricultural, urban, and industrial uses. However, to protect that fish, the Delta smelt and other species, there are rules that sometimes require water to be released into the San Francisco Bay and subsequently into the Pacific Ocean to maintain ecological health, prevent saltwater intrusion, and support fish habitats. So Trump has many times criticized these environmental regulations, arguing that too much water is diverted away from human use to protect what he calls an essentially worthless fish. I don't know. Every species of fish has real value. And if it's endangered, I mean, it needs to be considered. I think maybe that's part of what I'm taking issue with of late with Trump, is that it's the little guy that he says he's protecting, when in fact he doesn't really seem to give a damn about the little guy. In this case, the little guy being poor little Delta smelt, or maybe even the much smaller in terms of population and power, Canada. But Trump's statements with regard to this have often implied that this water could be used for other purposes like firefighting or agriculture, without acknowledging these bigger ecological balance issues and the legal obligations also under environmental laws. It's not as easy as he thinks maybe for Gavin Newsom to simply say, yeah, let's just divert the water, screw the fish. Who cares if it ceases to exist? I don't care if Los Angeles is an existential threat to the Delta smelt. There might be other solutions to simply just diverting the water and letting the fish perish, cease to exist, wipe it off the face of the planet. I don't know how endangered the Delta smelt is. I can't say, but if it's an endangered species, it needs to at least be considered. The water that flows into the Pacific is not just for the smelt, but serves multiple ecological functions, actually, including maintaining the health of the Delta ecosystem, which supports numerous species, not just the smelt. Now, the amount of water lost to the ocean is part of a much larger system where water is already heavily allocated for human use, and the idea that this water could simply be redirected to solve drought or fire issues overlooks the complexity of water rights, storage, and the natural flow that must be maintained to prevent ecological collapse. And there's an ongoing debate about balancing environmental needs with human demands, and the narrative of dumping water simplifies a complex issue where decisions are made based on science, law, policy, and I would say even sovereignty, because as you heard, Trump was actually just very quickly, he mentioned that the water is coming from where? Canada. Now, in this particular case, they're not in a position to, right now, block or dam the flow of water from Canada, which then goes down into the United States. So we as Canadians still have the sovereign jurisdiction over that water. But I would imagine if I were to dig deeper, because the water flows down into the United States, there are very likely international water rights in play there, where Canada is obligated not to build dams, because if Trump isn't careful, it doesn't treat us really nice. Maybe we'll just build a dam and cut off all the water to LA. How about that? Coming from BC. That wouldn't work out very well for LA. Yeah, there's a lot more going on here, Donald, than just flexing your muscles and making someone weaker than yourself do what you want just because you think it might be a good idea. Oh, man. I guess Kevin O'Leary actually did end up going down there, or he didn't actually go. He did actually have a conversation with Trump. He was saying, I'm going to go down there and negotiate a better economic union with Donald Trump. Kevin O'Leary, the businessman, Shark Tank, also regular commentator on Fox News, Canadian, at one time leadership hopeful for the Conservative Party of Canada. I'll run the clip here. This isn't brand new. It's not completely fresh, but this is what he had to say on Fox News after actually speaking to Trump. We haven't run this before here anyway. This was him after speaking to Trump on this issue. Kevin O'Leary.
With President-elect Trump on this issue.
I had two topics that I wanted to talk to him about. Number one was integrating Canada towards a North American Union for greater strength, just period. The world's a difficult place these days, and most Canadians would like to look at that opportunity without giving up their sovereignty. So low-hanging fruit would be combined currency, for example, combining the Bank of Canada with the Fed, things like that. We are the largest trading partners. And just to ask him, because this was on Saturday, to say these meetings you're having with Trudeau and finance ministers from Canada, with all due respect, sir, are a complete waste of time. This guy's going to get eradicated out of the Canadian political landscape. Give the Canadians a chance to re-elect a leader, just like you got re-elected, that has a 4-year mandate, just like you have, and let's get down to business. And I hope they didn't land on deaf ears. I think he saw the rationale in that. That was one topic. But I had another agenda item that was very important to me.
And that would be making money for himself. He has interests in pipelines, as I understand it. And I think an economic union with the United States would benefit Kevin O'Leary. And even though he says Canadians don't want to give up their sovereignty, if we were to enter into an economic union with the United States, and that would include, I guess, maybe a common currency with the adoption of the U.S. dollar in Canada instead of our own currency, oh yeah, man, that you're giving up a big part of your sovereignty when you do that. Make no mistake. You give up that kind of autonomy and self-determination, economic self-determination, you're giving up a huge chunk of your sovereignty. It affects your social programs, it affects your fiscal policies, it affects how you interact with the rest of the world. We become, effectively, through an economic union and a common currency, part of the United States. If not constitutionally, economically, and to some degree even socially, it affects all aspects of our lives. The economy affects everything about what you are, regardless of the country you're in. He should know that. I'm sure that he does. So to sit there and say the Canadians don't want to give up their sovereignty, but they want to enter into an economic union, well, it's kind of almost, not exactly, but it's a related thing. Those who don't understand how economics works, they probably don't understand what I'm even saying. A lot of attacks going on, it's already chaotic. I think we're in for 4 very chaotic years with Donald Trump and those around him in the White House. Elon Musk being one of the main players there, who bought his way into the White House with that $270+ million investment to get Trump elected. And now he's wedged himself right in there, practically in the Oval Office himself. And then making comments, tweeting, social media comments about Britain, calling for the United States to liberate the UK. Oh, that has also triggered a pretty substantial response, a lot of concern over in the UK. Some are wondering if this might even represent some sort of a national security threat to the United Kingdom. The government's counter-extremism unit is investigating Elon Musk's social media posts to determine if they pose any kind of threat to Great Britain. It's true. Listen to this.
And the world's richest man has been launching a barrage of attacks, hasn't he, on the Prime Minister and on the government?
Yes, and it doesn't look like those attacks are going to stop anytime soon. Don't forget, Elon Musk is not just the world's richest man. He has some 210 million followers on X, the social media platform which he owns. So his comments do reach far and wide. What's happened is as you said, the Home Office's counter-extremism unit is now taking a close look at those comments, and they will be analysing whether disinformation and hate is being spread online. Elon Musk has particularly focused on the grooming gang scandal, and he's been very vicious about Keir Starmer, saying that he's been complicit in the rape of Britain. He's not only attacked Keir Starmer, he's also targeted Jess Phillips, the safeguarding minister, saying that she is a rape genocide apologist. Jess Phillips, in turn, has said that a number of posts that Elon Musk has made has put her in danger, and it's reported that she has close protection officers assigned to her now. Well, Elon Musk not only is making public comments about the Labour government and Labour politicians, he's also reportedly, privately, talking to allies about how he can destabilise the Labour government and remove Keir Starmer before the next election.
Thanks very much.
Musk also being accused of trying to gin up, essentially, anti-Muslim, the sentiment, with all of the tweeting that he's been doing, or posting on X, with regard to the grooming gangs issue. The larger question is how much is posting is appropriate. I don't know. Does this amount essentially to foreign interference of a foreign government, like the U.S. government, interfering in the affairs of the UK government, UK politics? Is it appropriate for Musk to be doing that? He can manipulate public opinion with his massive reach through social media, not just because he has a large following, but because he owns the platform. Not only can he reach a large audience with his own posts, he can manipulate the algorithm to get the outcomes that he wants. He can put specific kinds of content, specific messaging in front of people as often as he wants, essentially controlling people's minds to a great degree, unless people choose to completely tune it out. But advertising works, marketing works, propaganda works. That's why people do it. That's why companies spend, governments spend as well, huge, huge amounts of money on advertising, marketing, and now social media. Elon Musk, nobody's spent more than Elon Musk, I don't think, with his purchase of Twitter, now X. But is it appropriate for him to be inserting himself into the affairs of the United Kingdom politically? Is it even appropriate for him to be in the White House with President-elect Trump just because he has all that money? What do you guys think? I don't know. Loopy says the only two people who could get away with the drone in New Jersey is Musk and the governor. Brian says, on behalf of Kingston, I apologize for the fact that Elon Musk spent 2 years at Queen's University about the same time I was there. Yeah. Brant Wells says, unlike them, we have freedom of speech, so yes, we can speak his opinion. I'm not sure what he's referring to, so it must be a response to an earlier comment. Steve Harvey says, how much to buy UK government? Elon asked. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? The mindset with these ultra-rich people like Trump. Like, let's just buy Greenland. How much is that? How about we just, we'll just buy Canada. Countries, just buy them up. Just buy them all. Man. Of course, he's doing it with taxpayers' money. And he's going to do it all on day one. Yeah. In fact, I've got a whole list here, I think, of things that Trump is supposed to do on day one. In fact, there are more than 100 executive orders, I guess, being prepared by Donald Trump to start, that he's going to sign, I guess, on the first day coming into the White House. It's basically an executive order shock and awe campaign focusing on border security, deportations, and a whole rush of other initiatives. I kind of wonder why he's in such a rush, but he's certainly in a hurry. There was a private meeting on Capitol Hill, and Trump told these Republican senators of his plans to sign all these executive orders on Inauguration Day. And we just heard him say that he's going to make some sort of a statement or reveal the information probably on day one about the drones. So I'm waiting with bated. Well, I'm just waiting. I want to know. Tell me what the truth is, Donald. What's going on with the drones? 100 executive orders. Is that a record? I don't know. He says, I guess the finishing the U.S.-Mexico border wall, of course, and setting up immigration detention facilities, which will be used to house migrants until they're deported. It's all part of $100 billion in proposals. $100 billion. 100 executive orders, $100 billion. All that on day one. Is he going to get it done? Is it going to make a difference? Will it make the world a better place, a safer place? I don't know. Very unpredictable he is. Rocking the world. Rocking the free world. That's Donald Trump. Don't go away.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have
apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hello, are we back? Maybe. I hope so. Yeah, we're back now. Okay. That was a very long disconnect. Bell Media, Bell Canada, internet sucks. You just saw the reliability, or lack of it, in action again. Right here. We're making changes. Because this can't continue. All these internet disruptions. It's not right. A little bit more stuff to a little bit more to cover this evening. Just a reminder that if you want to support the program, you can do that by donating at freedomreporters.com. If you make a donation, I will send you the 10-song Freedom Collection, plus I'll send you the Christmas song tonight too, even though Christmas is over with. I really liked that one. I'll send you the JT song too. How about that? The new Fancy Socks song we ran at the beginning of the program. So you get that, plus the 10-song Freedom Collection that we put together here. And I appreciate the support that you guys have been giving us. Donations. We need donations. Yeah. We're pretty lean. So yeah, we could use some help. And I do have some emails that I need to send out because I'm way behind because we didn't have internet for, well, almost 2 days. So I'm so far behind on work. It's just insane. And I do owe a few email messages and thank yous to people that will be coming, hopefully overnight tonight as I get off here. I'll continue to work and do some of the behind-the-scenes work that I'm still getting caught up on. You can donate at freedomreporters.com. Also, you can donate in the Rumble rants, sort of like the Super Chats over on Rumble. We're still demonetized, of course, on YouTube and kicked off Facebook. So we're on all these other platforms. We've more than replaced what we had on Facebook. Back to the news. Looking at the battlefield, Ukrainian forces